All right, YouTube, this is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, back with another video. This is December 31st, the last day of 2024, and it's been a heck of a year. You've seen assassination attempts on Trump. You've seen protests. You've seen the border swinging wide open and Venezuelan gangs. You've seen every type of nefarious thing in 2024. And this is my last video for 2024. And it's going to be one of the most important videos of 2024. And this is the last one. So I'm going to ask you to like it, share it, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Because YouTube is not going to push this video. This video will be probably shadow banned and censored. Just telling you that now. Because how many of you guys believe in coincidences? You know? I mean, sometimes there are coincidences, but then sometimes things are actually patterns or modes of operation. How many of you guys been following what's been going on in New York? I'm not talking about the setting the fire of the lady on the subway. That was one thing. I'm talking about not even the Daniel Penny. This new situation with the prisoner being unalived in Marcy jail. Now, the usual suspects are on deck. You got Black Lives Matter protesting in the street. Black Lives Matter talking real radical and off the chain about the situation because things are escalating. But doesn't that remind you of George Floyd? Because at the same time, we have this new outbreak of a so-called bird flu, allegedly. A new virus, new protests, same presidents, same political atmosphere. Doesn't it sound familiar? Does it seem like deja vu, like you've seen this before? Like you've seen American cities on fire, protests in the streets, chaos, people locked in their homes, wearing masks. This is no conspiracy theory. This is me just talking about what I've seen and what's going on and using the First Amendment and my right to actually report and be a journalist about this because we've seen these same type of conditions before. So without further ado, I want to get off into these clips. And I want you to watch these clips and I want you to listen to the rhetoric in these clips. You know, people like to always use the term conspiracy theory. That came from the government. The government created conspiracy theories as a terminology so that if you started putting the pieces together, you would look like some type of kook or some type of dissident person who didn't have the facts, just making things up, like you needed a tinfoil hat on. But that's not what this is. We're just going to look at some situations that seem vaguely familiar to us. So like I said, like the video when you come in the building, share it, pay attention. And let's get off into it. This is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act, for commentary, educational purposes, and as an American citizen, I'm standing on the First Amendment. Check out these clips. We're going to start with the first one with Black Lives Matter.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 9, 10, 11. 9, 10, 11. and every correction officer and police officer in existence.
Now, I'm going to just interject right there because that's a heck of a statement to come in. F every police officer and correction officer in existence, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, it doesn't matter. F them all. Let's continue with Black Lives Matter.
Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Somebody playing with us? They just let a white boy get away with choking somebody to death. 3 weeks later, they beat somebody to death on camera. On camera. Now, I want to say something that might take a little bit of quiet, because I want to make it make sense to y'all. As American citizens, we shall not be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. That's right. There was no due process for Robert Brooks. That's right. That's why the Federal Bureau of Investigation needs to arrest these cops immediately. Shot somebody on camera. They took his picture. There was a manhunt and arrest. Why when it's a black person killed, the system doesn't work for us? Because this Constitution doesn't work for us. These politicians don't work for us. This system doesn't work for us. That's why we gotta take our destiny into our own hands. Our own hands. We gotta defend ourselves. Your brothers and sisters who are behind the wall are warriors. Warriors don't sing kumbaya. Warriors do warrior shit.
Did you hear that noise that lady made? That's actually from the movie Warriors. You can't make this up. And not only we have Trinidad Wagra, Venezuelan gangs, we got all the chaos. But think about it. The New World Order always says, out of chaos comes order. What are we watching a playbook? Let's continue.
Those murderers need to be in cuffs. But the power belongs to the people. The more of us who show up, who are unafraid and unapologetically black, that's how we get shit done. Keep fighting and keep moving forward. All power to the people. Say his name. 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 We are not going to sit back and just pray. That's right. And just hope. That's right. We are demanding that every single person, every single thug,
speak power, right?
that had anything to do with the death
Speak truth, that's right.
of Robert Brooks be fired and arrested.
That's right. That's right. gonna happen, brother.
By January 31st,
That's right.
we are going to shut the state of New York down.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
We go.
I know I'm almost 60 years old, and I've seen a lot of things in my life, but I've never seen an entire state shut down. You know, when I was born during the time of the Detroit riots, born on the west side, where the tanks were in the street, with a curfew, where it was martial law. You know, I was born during the time of kings unaliving. You know, I've seen a lot of things. And experience has taught me, and living through a lot of different things has taught me. You got to be aware at this particular hour. There's more to all of this than meets the eye. Think about it. This is deja vu. We've seen this before.
To shut down the state of New York by any means necessary. We understand that the governor went to go visit Marcy Correctional Facility.
That ain't enough.
That's not enough.
That ain't enough.
That is not enough.
At all.
We need jail time for these officers and these staffers.
That's right.
That's what we need.
That's right. There's another one right here. Turn that.
Say his name. 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 Say his name.
That's how it starts. Isn't that how it starts? Isn't that the same playbook? And Black Lives Matter again? Anybody but Black Lives Matter, right? My son, Tamika Mallory, all the usual suspects. Right on cue. Now let's check this out.
Outbreak in wild birds, poultry, and dairy cattle. Well, the CDC.
No chaotic situation worth its salt would not be all it's cracked up to be without an epidemic and CNN creating a whole nother source of panic. Listen to this now.
He is now pushing back after a health expert told me the U.S. isn't acting fast enough to contain the bird flu outbreak in wild birds, poultry, and dairy cattle. Former COVID response chief Dr. Deborah Birx told me this on Friday.
We're not testing enough, and we know from other viruses that a lot of the spread can be asymptomatic. So we kind of have our head in the sand about how widespread this is from the zoonotic standpoint, from the animal to human standpoint. I flash back to January of 2020,
Right.
and I'm hearing the same words come out of the CDC.
Like what?
Low risk human to human transmission.
Did she say the quiet part out loud? A flashback to January of 2020? Sound like she said the quiet part out loud. Let's listen to some more.
Transmission. Now,
All
our
right, she's not
agencies are
familiar.
making the same mistakes they made with COVID.
Joining us now is the director of the CDC's National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, Diseases, Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, those are some strong words there from Dr. Birx. What is your response to her comments about the need for more testing of the bird flu?
So first, thank you so much for having me on. Happy New Year, everybody. So I'll start by saying a really important point, which is flu is not COVID. I think COVID, as an example, was a virus that we've never encountered. Flu is one that we've been preparing for decades, and bird flu specifically, we've been preparing for over 2 decades. So quite notably, we have been doing a lot of surveillance and testing of influenza, especially since March. So our routine influenza system, that is what we use every year to figure out what the best vaccine is and what the best strategies are for flu, has in fact tested 73,000 people to look for bird flu and has actually found 3 individuals through that system. So along with the work that we do in our regular surveillance, testing tens of thousands of people since March, we also have been engaging with farm workers and farm worker health organizations to make sure that individuals with exposures are tested. So we know that that is the highest yield for identifying individuals infected with bird flu. So I think bottom line is that we've been doing both industrial strength work, looking at surveillance, making sure that we're getting a sense of what's happening across the country using our flu surveillance system, but also working on the ground with our state public health departments to make sure that we're testing individuals with exposure.
Well, what do you say to what she said? And I see your point about, this bird flu is different from COVID. We've been preparing for this. That she's hearing a lot of the same words that she heard with COVID, like it's low risk. Early on, that's what they were saying. And the CDC website still says bird flu is low risk to public health. What do you say to that? And do you believe it's still low risk?
So to be clear, we say on our website that bird flu is low risk to the general population. So every time we identify a case of bird flu, we go through an entire process to really look at our risk assessment. So we look at the story, the epidemiology around that case. Is there any evidence of human-to-human transmission? And to be clear, there is no evidence of human-to-human transmission in the United States at this time. We also look really carefully at the sequence related to influenza to make sure that we see if there is...
Doesn't that sound familiar when they say at this time? Remember how the other situation was going on in China and there was animals and they say at this time there's nothing in it. And then all of a sudden, something just popped up in the United States through an airport or some type of travel situation. I'm just saying, are we paying attention?
Any change that could potentially mean that the virus is changing in a way that could mean that it's higher risk to humans. And I think that's been really important in the work that we've been doing and will continue to do. So I think based on our, looking at the risk every day, looking at what we're learning from the virus as well as epidemiology, that remains true, that it is low risk for the general population. With that said, there is increased risk for individuals who have exposure to animal and animal products. So that's why so much of the work that we're doing is focused on farm workers and others who may have exposure to birds or other products that may put them at risk for H5. And we do that by doing the work that we're doing with testing, but also making clear guidance around how people can protect themselves with personal protective equipment, as well as antivirals in terms of post-exposure prophylaxis, so using medications after an exposure to prevent potential acquisition of bird flu.
All right, so there's this, there's a couple scenarios here, right? You have the Louisiana case where there was a mutation that was detected, and then you have the potential scenario of someone, a farm worker, for example, getting the flu, the seasonal flu, and also getting bird flu, and sort of the concoction of both of those leading to it being transmissible to a human potentially. How concerning is this? Do you think it's just a matter of time until it starts mutating to infect human to human?
Yeah, I'll start by saying we're approaching influenza as we always do with great humility. Influenza is a virus that can change, and I think that the Louisiana case is a great example. So in that circumstance, we have an individual who is infected by a virus, and as that virus replicates, it can actually acquire changes, and it has done that. Importantly, those changes did not transmit beyond that person. So though we've seen those changes, they may not be enough to be what sort of generates an increased assessment of risk. Another important piece is that we work really closely with our colleagues at USDA. And when looking at the birds in that individual's backyard, we didn't see those changes. So the bottom line is that the work that we do every day to make sure that we understand what's happening with the virus, as well as the epidemiology, is really what helps us make that risk assessment. And like I said, we really approach this virus and with this situation with great humility, but also approach it with decades of experience in dealing with influenza.
What are the risks associated with every human case that develops?
Yeah, so I think that when we look at each case, we look at exposure. Did they have a known exposure? What was that exposure? Is there any evidence for human-to-human transmission? And we're definitely not seeing that. And is there any increase in the severity? So we really look at all of these together to help guide our public health response. And a lot of what we're seeing now is telling us, be prepared. And so we've done that by making sure that testing is available through our public health labs, but also through two large commercial companies that allow physicians and other healthcare providers to order tests in their practice from their offices. So that's something that I think potentially didn't come through in some of comments from some of my colleagues, that in fact we do have commercial testing available for H5 available today. And in fact, it's been available since the early fall. I think the other part of this is that we are avidly making sure that we are prepared in the circumstance that we need to move from being prepared for a vaccine program to moving to a vaccine program. And so the work that we do every day to categorize influenza viruses has been really important, because that's how we generate candidate vaccine viruses, which are the ones that we're developing with our colleagues in ASPR in the event that we need to go from planning and preparedness to implementing a vaccine.
All right, Dr. Daskalakis, thank you so much for your time.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've been here before. I've seen this. Black Lives Matter in the street. Reports of something far off mutating flu or virus or bug. Personal protection masks. Defund the police. Biden and Trump. Civil unrest. How many of you guys really believe in coincidences? This many? I don't know. But this is this is December 31st. This is my last video of this year. Check out some of the ones leading up to this video, because we've been on a path leading to here and leading to something else. You know, remember January 6th, all the different things that were going on and all the distractions. Diddy Kratz, Jay-Z, you name it. Where's Kamala? Joe Biden in full-blown dementia at this point, at this particular time. How about I say this? Everything in this video I just said is allegedly. How about that? Does that make you feel better? This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Support the nonprofit Detroit's Black Thought and Action Collective. The Cash App is in the channel description. As always, salute to all patriots, and definitely keep your head on a swivel. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.